Coming up on a special edition of Investigate TV, children forced to make an unthinkable choice.
It's shocking.
Trains stalled for hours, forcing elementary school kids to risk their lives just to get to class.
It's heartbreaking, terrifying.
This is not something that should be happening in the United States of America.
And first responders trapped by blocked crossings, losing precious moments.
This is life and death.
Investigate TV and our partner, ProPublica, expose a potentially deadly hazard that puts lives in danger.
Multiple emergency responders were delayed this morning, all due to parked train on the tracks.
Incidents happening across the country as rail operators push the limit.
So this is a deliberate and specific example of rail companies putting profits over safety.
Absolutely.
Tonight, we look back at our series of stories fueled by these stunning images. A series holding one of the country's oldest industries accountable.
We did it. You did it. We got the message out.
Compelling major companies to act.
This action could save lives.
It will save lives, no doubt about it.
And pushing political leaders to change laws to protect lives.
This is more than an inconvenience. This is dangerous.
Here is Josie Sturman with Railroaded.
For the last 6 months, Investigate TV and ProPublica have been digging into a life-threatening problem that impacts towns and cities across America. We've discovered that the threats tied to rail cars don't stop with their speed or hazardous contents. Instead, we found they pose a serious danger simply by sitting still. Thousands of times each year, trains roll into town and stop for hours or even days, cutting off whole communities, holding them hostage. Blocked crossings not only cost ambulances and fire trucks critical minutes when they're responding to emergencies, they also create dangerous barriers for children trying to get to school, forcing kids in communities nationwide to crawl under and over trains just to get to class. It's the kind of moment that takes your breath away. A little girl in a bright red coat, tiny arms and legs wiggling underneath a train car that could move at any moment. This is a situation that would usually send people running. But in Hammond, Indiana, there's no commotion, no cry for help when an elementary school student crawls between the tracks. It's quiet as she dusts herself off, casually picks up her book bag and a dropped water bottle, and carries on.
Her book bag could have got caught, her jacket could have got caught, the train could have started moving while she caught.
Moments like this still shock Akeisha Henderson, who moved here nearly 3 years ago.
You better start moving, that thing's gonna move any second now.
A few months ago, she started recording them, posting on social media, showing the world what normal looks like in a city where trains may block the street for hours at a time.
There's no end this way that we can cross over. It's too far down.
Leaving kids with no choice but to take their chances, tangling with the steel beast that often stands in their way to school.
I know they're used to it, I can tell. Because it's like they didn't hesitate to do it. They didn't pause and think. They're just like, okay, we're just going over. Like, it was nothing to them.
It's a harrowing situation people in this community say has become commonplace, with parked trains blocking people and cars from crossing several times a week. Industry experts tell us trains generally stop like this because their crews have reached the maximum hours they can work, or because of rail switching practices which impact when and where trains can move. When they finally do, we saw there's little notice given.
It's heartbreaking, terrifying.
Our national investigative team and our partner, ProPublica, repeatedly saw why, watching a teenage student running late, hefting his bike through stalled train cars on his way to school. Crowds of elementary kids gathering to see if a train would move before they had to file across one by one to make the morning bell. Parents helping their children with the big jump. And even that little girl in the red coat crawling alone to the other side of the tracks, where a crossing guard waits just 2 blocks down the street to personally guide students safely through the next intersection on their route.
The middle school is right here where the sign is at, and straight down the street is the high school, Morton High School.
The trip to attend them, often a risky one, captured on a mother's cell phone in hopes the footage would finally help to change things.
Someone else needs to see this.
Look at that little bitty baby.
What do you think when you see that?
I think it's outrageous.
We took the video to members of Congress. When you saw that video, what was your reaction?
It's shocking.
and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
It's exactly why we believe that there needs to be and can be more done about this issue.
An issue that impacts communities across the country. Our team combed through data from the Federal Railroad Administration, which has been collecting blocked crossing complaints from the public since 2019. Last year alone, that data shows more than 30,000 reports of blocked crossings across the nation, with Texas, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, and Tennessee in the top 5 for complaints. Nearly 1,000 reports to the FRA detailed crossings blocked for more than a day, and hundreds of complaints report serious concerns, like pedestrians who climb on, over, or through trains. They also detail an even wider issue. First responders blocked from crossing the tracks for hours at a time or longer.
Yeah, Jonathan, actually it's been almost 9 days, according to the mayor, that this train has been stalled here.
It's a problem we've found can have serious, sometimes life-threatening consequences, with blocked crossings blamed for injuries, deaths, and devastating delays.
You see ambulances get stopped all the time.
From the Ohio house fire that kept burning as crews navigated their way around a stopped train.
Multiple emergency responders were delayed this morning, all due to parked train on the tracks.
To communities in Arkansas, Georgia, Kansas, and Texas dealing with blocked crossings that put lives at risk.
There's been a couple cases where it lasted 3 days.
Mike Hull understands.
When you do know that there's a medical emergency or you do know that there's an active fire, I mean, it's frustrating.
He's been a firefighter for more than 20 years and is now union president in Hammond, where he says police officers, ambulances, and fire trucks are forced to find ways around stalled trains on a weekly basis. In other towns and cities across the U.S., long, slow-moving trains that go on for miles also freeze first responders. Even in a crisis, though, they have no authority to make sitting trains move or to limit how long lengthier carriers block crossings. The Federal Railroad Administration doesn't either, with no federal laws related to blocked crossings. For decades, it was states that had control over what happened on the rails. 37 of them in D.C. have anti-blocking laws on the books. But a series of court rulings in recent years have essentially made those powerless.
The cities and towns and states have tried to challenge the railroads. Obviously, the railroads have come out well ahead. And so I don't know if they're giving us, the middle finger and saying we're going to do it because we've won in court, or if they're just ignoring it. But we need help. We need help.
That help could come from the Supreme Court, with attorneys general from across the country arguing the High Court needs to decide once and for all who's really in charge of regulating the rails when it comes to blocked crossings. But in the meantime, some believe Congress needs to step in and take action.
It's a tragedy waiting to happen.
Texas Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia has been hearing about blocked crossings for more than a decade. In her district in Houston, she's been told first responders have been detoured by trains more than 3,000 times since 2019.
I think they need to be more responsible and more responsive, and the FRA needs to exert more oversight.
Garcia wants to empower the agency with more authority. She's proposing the Don't Block Our Communities Act. It would ban rail carriers from letting their trains block crossings for more than 10 minutes and also give the FRA the ability to fine companies who repeatedly go over the limit. Is that the only way to get them to stop doing this?
Well, I'm old school and I'm a former judge, and I think until you hit people in the pocketbook, you don't get their attention.
Well, it's always frustrating when you see behavior by a company and you're a regulator and you can't just grab them by the collar and say, stop it.
Secretary Buttigieg believes this is the moment for Congress to act and give the FRA, which falls under his umbrella, the legal power to directly regulate blocked crossings. But he's not waiting for solutions. He's funding them. The Transportation Department is handing out $3 billion as part of a first-of-its-kind grant program for projects across the country that make crossings safer or get rid of them altogether.
If we can target those resources to where there is the most inconvenience or the most danger, then that's going to be a big win for the communities that are impacted.
Many of them low-income communities of color, whose residents say they feel helpless, wanting the rail industry to be proactive when it comes to their safety. Does someone have to die in Hammond or in one of these other cities for them to take action and be serious about solving this?
Well, it shouldn't come to that. It shouldn't require that. But what we have seen is that the strongest public reaction happens when it's too late for the people who are impacted.
The Association of American Railroads, an industry lobbying group, says safety will always be their top priority, with their members committed to being responsible community partners. The group pushed for the program to eliminate crossings and generally agrees that stopped trains are not good for communities or their business. That's why rail companies use a variety of strategies to minimize them. If those strategies are being used in Hammond, Indiana, our team didn't see them in action. A Norfolk Southern train sat blocking crossings for at least 4 hours during the busy morning rush, echoing what we've repeatedly heard from the community. FRA data shows Norfolk Southern is in the top 3 when it comes to reported blocked crossing incidents, with more than 15,000 since December 2019. Although the company originally agreed to an interview with InvestigateTV and ProPublica, they canceled abruptly, citing a family emergency. Instead, a spokesperson sent written responses, saying part of the issue in Hammond is that particular crossing is between intersections with other railroads that require permissions to move through. Plus, the trains are headed to nearby Chicago, the nation's busiest rail hub. In a statement, a spokesman wrote, "We are actively working to identify an area where those trains can stage further down our line and have less impact," and saying they share the concerns of the community when it comes to the danger of climbing on or through trains.
When it falls on deaf ears after so many years, you can't feel any other way, but that they just don't care.
Mike Hall feels just like many people we've heard from in Hammond, that trains that clog the city, creating delays and potentially deadly hazards, are just a way of life. Something children, like the little girl in the red coat, have to go through or even under when they're railroaded by a system that leaves them no choice.
Coming up on Investigate TV.
We did it. You did it. We got the message out.
I know that article made a big difference. I know it did. I'm not even going to say I think it did.
Heartbreaking, staggering, unthinkable. Those are the words used to describe this story, which quickly went viral, with people outraged by the video showing children forced to navigate through trains just to get to school. People from across the country began sharing their anger, their own experiences, and demanding solutions in thousands of tweets and posts. We heard about trains stopped from coast to coast, impacting elementary students all the way up to high school. From Cincinnati to Miami, Baltimore to Los Angeles, public outcry about this situation fueled calls for action online, with people saying that finding a solution to blocked crossings should be a priority, telling lawmakers and regulators to get on board with fixing the problem so kids don't have to risk their lives. Almost immediately, policymakers began answering the call, with that video at the center of discussions to fix blocked crossings in many communities, including Hammond, where it all started. In the hours after we published our story, Hammond officials held a meeting to talk about a proposed overpass designed to help deal with blocked crossings. Our team was there as residents debated the solutions, getting heated as they highlighted our reporting, which put their city at the center of a national conversation about blocked crossings. And it put their alarming situation, which has been unresolved for decades, on the radar of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
We did it. You did it. We got the message out. It's always the media that has to do our homework. We need that exposure.
That exposure put this story into homes and offices across the country, including the one belonging to the CEO of Norfolk Southern, the rail carrier that's consistently blocked crossings in the city of Hammond.
I talked to the CEO of Norfolk Southern the day after that article came out, and I hadn't talked to the CEO of Norfolk Southern in 20 years. Without that article, without the attention that we're getting on this issue, Norfolk Southern is not talking to the mayor of the city of Hammond. My impression is he really cares about this. He was horrified just like the rest of us, and he wanted to help solve the problem.
Mayor Tom McDermott tells us they started working cooperatively on solutions almost immediately, with Norfolk Southern starting a pilot program that includes curfews that keep trains from blocking crossings during the morning and afternoon school rush, and sending out email blasts to let the community know when trains will be stopping. But even more promising, McDermott says he's been in talks with Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw about building a $5 million pedestrian overpass that will make it possible for children to cross the tracks safely. They're still working out the terms of a memo of understanding, but the mayor says he's confident the project will happen, with the company contributing the bulk of the cost. It's massive progress to solve a problem McDermott says he's been trying to fix since he took office nearly 20 years ago.
I know what the difference is. It's the power of the press. There's no doubt about it. If I asked the CEO of Norfolk Southern without that article for $5 million to build a pedestrian bridge, I don't think I would even gotten the phone call. So I think I know that article made a big difference. I know it did. I'm not even going to say I think it did.
The impact of this story isn't limited to one city. Our reporting created a ripple effect, with lawmakers in Indiana and beyond calling for action. The day after our story hit the internet, a group of Indiana lawmakers, some of whom represent the community featured in our story, began writing Secretary Buttigieg demanding change. In this letter, a group of 10 lawmakers from both sides of the aisle urged the Transportation Secretary to act in light of our reporting, which they said highlighted the dangers of trains blocking crossings for hours, putting children's lives at risk. They said we must address this immediately and told the secretary capitalize on this moment when all eyes are on the situation. Blocked crossings became part of the national conversation as our story spread, getting picked up by national outlets, passed around by political leaders and industry insiders. And our reporters across the country dug deeper into blocked crossings that impact cities across America. Apple News, Axios, National Public Radio, PBS, and Politico are just a few of the outlets that have showcased our reporting. And our team of journalists in cities across the country began digging into the problem in their own communities, showing what happens when blocked crossings paralyze their towns. Using data and tools provided by our team, they uncovered the biggest hotspots for this issue in their own neighborhoods.
With so many complaints about blocked railroad crossings, we decided to look into it.
277 total complaints have been filed within Wichita.
271 times, those trains blocked traffic for at least an hour.
Last year, crews were delayed 15 times by a train.
We've been out here for more than half an hour already. The train was stopped when we got here, and so far, no signs that it's going to get moving anytime soon.
It's happening everywhere, including here in Georgia. In the last 3 years, there were 206 complaints made in Atlanta alone.
Those stories, which built off our original reporting, helped to raise this issue at the highest levels of government.
Coming up on Investigate TV.
What we showed you, it stunned you.
It's unbelievable.
Trains should not be stopped on these crossings the way they are.
After seeing our video and local coverage of blocked crossings, Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock took swift action. Just 2 weeks after our story was released, he successfully lobbied for the addition of provisions related to blocked crossings, putting them into a fast-moving rail safety bill speeding through Congress. Senator Warnock says the video was a wake-up call.
Children playfully crossed the tracks in Hammond, Indiana, looking carefree with summer vacation just days away. It's a stark contrast to months ago when stalled trains blocked their path to and from school, forcing kids to make an unthinkable choice, be late to class or crawl under or through train cars to get there. What we showed you, it stunned you.
It's unbelievable.
U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock reacting to video captured as part of an InvestigateTV ProPublica investigation, putting blocked crossings at the center of a national conversation.
I think it's important that more people become aware of this. I think a lot of people aren't aware of this.
The Georgia Democrat taking action to make people aware, citing our reporting, which showed lives at risk across the country, with neighborhoods cut off, first responders delayed, and children taking chances with stopped trains, all because of blocked crossings.
This is more than an inconvenience. This is dangerous. Children shouldn't have to risk their lives to get to school and encounter this literal kind of barrier.
Just weeks after our report, Warnock took action to change that, successfully introducing provisions in the Rail Safety Act that's moving swiftly through Congress. The senator's amendments put crossings near schools or on school bus routes at the top of the list for grant funding designed to eliminate dangerous crossings, making sure they get special attention. And they also create a process that allows people to directly communicate blocked crossings to rail carriers. Right now, the Federal Railroad Administration collects those complaints from the public, with tens of thousands reported each year, but it has no authority to regulate the problem.
But I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to keep building on this. If these large railway corporations are able to act with impunity and no penalties, no accountability, this is what you get. We have to hold them accountable.
This is not something that should be happening in the United States of America. Trains should not be stopped on these crossings the way they are.
Jared Cassidy is the chief of safety for SMART, the union that represents train conductors and engineers, which reached out saying it wanted to highlight our reporting in nationwide training and awareness campaigns about the dangers of blocked crossings.
If there is one thing that can fix it, I firmly believe this video speaks to that.
Cassidy says trains seen blocking crossings for hours or days in communities across the U.S. could be separated in what he calls a fairly simple process, but rail companies often choose not to do it.
It's not a big deal, but the railroads, because they want the train to move when they want the train to move, they don't want to have to deal with the time of the conductor walking. They don't want to have to lose the time of putting or separating it and putting it back together.
So this is a deliberate and specific example of rail companies putting profits over safety.
Absolutely.
The Association of American Railroads, which reps rail companies, says separating trains can lead to some crossings being blocked for longer while the train is rebuilt, and that it can also pose increased risk for injuries. The organization says safety is always the top priority, but Cassidy says that's not what they see in action. SMART wants to see tougher regulation of blocked crossings and the long trains that often create them, leading to tragedy on the tracks.
Too many have already died, too many have already been impacted, too many have already been harmed. One was too many, and this is something that has to be corrected. We cannot allow it to continue.
That bill is on the fast track, and we're told it could come up for a full vote on the Senate floor this summer. We're also keeping an eye on Congresswoman Garcia's standalone bill that would limit carriers from blocking crossings at all and give the FRA the power to fine repeat offenders. To date, that bill has not gotten a hearing, and the lawmakers holding it up have ignored our requests for comment. We'll continue to investigate the rail industry and the consequences of inaction, because without lawmakers, the courts, or the rail industry making a significant move, communities will remain cut off from the rest of the world. First responders will continue to sacrifice precious minutes, and children will have to make unthinkable choices that put their lives at risk, all because they've been railroaded.